In the marble expanse of the Galactic Senate, flickering holo-panels bathe the chamber in wavering beams of cerulean light. Mace Windu stands at the crest of a polished dais, his deep purple blade sheathed at his hip like a silent sentinel. The air trembles with hushed conversations, senators cloaked beneath elaborate masks, drifting between ornately carved pillars. Beneath the vaulted dome, sunlight filters through multicolored panes, painting motes of dust that swirl in the stillness. Below him, the floor ripples with whispered unrest. Delegates from distant systems exchanging fragments of worry. The huts murmur of smuggler encroachments on Teth. Corellians fret over pirate fleets re-emerging in the outer rim. Even as the Republic savors a hard-won respite, latent grievances simmer in secluded conclaves. Windu senses each snippet of discourse like a tremor beneath marble tiles. He recalls the relentless rain on Kamino's platforms and the echo of blaster fire across shattered battlegrounds. That same fervor now pulses through Senate corridors. Yet in the heart of dissent lies opportunity. A single motion cast by a respected Jedi Guardian could coax enough senators into supporting a covert mandate, one to unmask the Chancellor's true allegiance before his influence tightens irrevocably. Masters Kit Fisto and Shark T hover near the Curate Tribune's balcony, their stoic masks reflecting solemn resolve. Across the way, Senator Leia Organa stands apart, her posture rigid with cautious optimism, listening intently to an aide's urgent briefing. Their presence bolsters Windu's confidence, allies in an enterprise laden with risk. Nearby, Secretary Ni Alavar threads through desks, her datapad pressed close, mask glinting with unease. Windu descends the dais, boots echoing like distant thunder, and falls into step beside her. "Your holonet credentials have been intercepted," she whispers, voice taut. "Imperial sympathizers implanted surveillance scripts. Official channels aren't secure." He inclines his head. "We'll proceed off-grid. No records, no holo transmissions. Gather only those essential. Meet tonight at the Viral Plexus." His tone is a low rumble, carving through the chamber's ambient hum. They slip into a side corridor, frescoes of ancient Jedi Unathi peace treaties flanking their path. Windu's hand trails along a banister, etched with runes of fortitude. "Alert, Master Yoda," he whispers. The vote depends on swift consensus. Alavar bows and vanishes into a mosaic of delegates. Windu pauses beneath an arch, tracing the Republic's phoenix emblem carved into stone. "Soon," he murmurs, "we'll remind the Senate why the Jedi exist." As Coruscant's spires shift from gold to amber in the setting sun, Windu retreats to a hidden alcove in the Senate's outer ring. An obsidian and ivory table awaits, inscribed with Mandalorian glyphs. A gift from Concord Dawn. Kit Fisto and Shark Tai emerge from shadow, their lightsabers dormant, but their focus alight. A holomap flickers to life between them, rotating the Chancellor's private suite in spectral detail. Hidden maintenance shafts and service tunnels stand revealed. Windu's fingertips brush the projection. "We strike at dawn, detain, interrogate, avoid bloodshed, secure his confession." Kit Fisto's green eyes gleam. "I'll secure the outer corridors and guide our entry team. The guards swore to uphold peace. We'll remind them of their duty." Shark T inclines her head. "I'll oversee extraction. The private garden opens to a low-level hangar, our exit route." Windu exhales, feeling the hum of the Force align with their resolve. "May the Force guide us." They dissipate into the chamber's shifting shadows. Windu pauses at the threshold, placing a hand lightly on his saber's hilt. His reflection shimmers on polished marble, a solitary silhouette against centuries of history. He steps into fading light. The Republic stands on a razor's edge. At dawn, we tip the balance. After silence falls, Coruscant's towers shine with hidden purpose and peril. Windu senses night's currents swirling beneath the city's pulse, drawing him towards secret alliances. He will soon convene his confidants and embark on a mission to unmask the darkness lurking at the heart of the Senate's marble labyrinth. As the Senate's marble halls receded from his mind's eye, Mace Windu ascended the silent corridors of the Jedi Temple. Moonlight sliced through vaulted windows, casting silver ribbons across polished floors. Windu's footsteps echoed down arching hallways lined with statues of ancient masters. He carried no weapon, only resolve tempered by the Force. Tonight, that resolve would bind him to allies whose counsel he would need more than ever. He found them in the High Council chamber, a circular sanctum hushed by midnight's hush. Yoda sat upon a dais, eyes closed, limbs curled in meditation. Beside him, Obi-Wan Kenobi studied holomaps flickering on a crystalline table. The retired master greeted Windu with a solemn nod, concern and loyalty interwoven in his gaze. Windu bowed. Masters, the hour approaches. The Senate will convene at dawn to vote on our motion. We must act before Palpatine senses our intent. His voice settled over the chamber like a ripple. Yoda's ears twitched as he opened his eyes, depths gleaming like distant stars. Act we shall, but careful we must be. Shadows deeper than night cloud the Chancellor's will. Prepared are we for every path. He tapped his staff on the floor, each sound resonating with centuries of wisdom. Obi-Wan stepped forward. Our entry points rely on maintenance shafts unseen by patrols and extraction through private gardens. Yet we risk alerting his guard. We need contingencies, diplomatic signals to deter reinforcements, covert code words to halt any advance. Precision must guide us. Windu traced the holomap with a gloved fingertip. The projection revealed the Senate's underlevels, the chasm between public corridors and Palpatine's private suite. We strike at his meditation chamber, he said. An unarmed detainment, no flashpoints. Guards may hesitate when Jedi demand his arrest. Silence reigned. The diminutive master rose, staff in hand. Roles assigned, guardians of the doorways, Kit Fisto and Shark Tai will be. Anakin we cannot trust. His heart with conflict weighs heavy. Better keep him in reserve. Safe, he will remain until outcome certain. Obi-Wan's brow creased. Anakin's unrest grows. He senses change in the Force. If we exclude him, he may suspect ulterior motives, yet his passion for justice might endanger covert ops. Windu inhaled. Anakin's path remains his own. We cannot gamble the Republic's safety. We will inform him only once success is guaranteed. Until then, his role stays secondary. He exhaled, tension easing in the Force's embrace. Yoda inclined his head. Wise this is. Trust in the Force, but not in a failing heart. He offered a gentle smile, ages of clarity reflecting in his gaze. Obi-Wan produced a sealed data chest. Communications protocol and contingency codes. We distribute these to our teams. Trustworthy allies only. He extended the chest. Windu accepted it with reverence. They moved to a side alcove draped in white tapestry, scenes of Jedi valor shimmering in torchlight. Windu held the chest aloft, code-engraved crystal slots glowing faintly. These slots will identify us to temple guard units and to each other if separated. Outside, a lone patrol strode past, lightsaber hilts glowing dimly at their hips, a reminder of ceaseless vigilance. Windu's gaze followed them until they turned a corner, swallowed by shadow. Obi-Wan outlined final details. Guard rotations change at 0200, giving a 2-hour window. Entry by 0230. Room secured by 0245. Extraction before first watch change. "Then so be it," Windu intoned. "At 0200, we converge. Masters Fisto and Tai take the east wing. I lead the main team through the central keep. Master Yoda will monitor from the council chamber and coordinate reinforcements if needed." Yoda tapped his staff. "Stay in harmony with the Force. Let it guide your steps, silent as moonlight." He closed his eyes, returning to meditation's still pool. Obi-Wan sheathed his lightsaber. "I will accompany Master Windu. Together, we will face whatever Palpatine has prepared." His tone bore a promise of solidarity. Windu placed a hand on Obi-Wan's shoulder. "Thank you, old friend. May our resolve shine brighter than any blade." A fleeting smile passed between them. They departed the chamber into winding corridors, lanterns guttering as they passed. Moonbeams trailed their silhouettes, tracing paths upon marble walls. In the temple's hushed heart, whispers of destiny stirred with the night breeze, carrying the promise of justice. As they approached the rendezvous point, Windu paused beneath an arch inscribed with the Jedi code. He breathed in the temple's cool air, tasting hope tempered by caution. "Soon," he whispered, "the galaxy's dawn will break on a new horizon." The corridors beneath the Senate chamber lay hushed, flickering emergency lights tracing veins in cracked marble floors. Fragments of hollow records littered the ground, their etched words drifting like fallen leaves caught in unseen currents of the Force. The air smelled faintly of scorched wiring and ceremonial incense, as though the chamber itself braced for revelation. Mace Windu led Kit Fisto and Shak Tai through murky shadows, each footstep a testament to silent purpose. The stillness was tense, drawn like a cord on the verge of snapping. Somewhere above, Coruscant's towers shimmered against the dying night. But here, in the bowels of the Republic, justice moved beneath cover of silence. At the sealed holodoor to the Chancellor's office, Windu paused, feeling the gravity of Palpatine's aura like an unseen weight pressing against his chest. A lingering presence. Not overt, but ancient. Watching. Fisto knelt by the security console, bypassing a complex lock sequence with deft tentacles. His expression was calm, but Windu felt the tremor beneath his movements. The Force curled tight around them, alert and coiled. Intricate inscriptions etched around the panel glowed as the override succeeded. With a hiss of carved stone, the door groaned open, unveiling a chamber preserved in lavish order. Inside, marble surfaces gleamed beneath a fractured holoscreen. A central holotable flickered with briefing files, stuttering in half-formed loops. Shattered data rods lay scattered across the floor, their fibrous filaments catching stray light in iridescent glints. A war room dressed in opulence. Windu stepped forward, voice unwavering. "Chancellor Palpatine, you are under arrest by Senate decree and Jedi Council command." From behind a sculpted dais, Palpatine emerged, robes flowing like liquid night, and eyes reflecting the red hue of Coruscant's lights. The panoramic windows behind him framed endless cityscapes, towers igniting the dusk in 1,000 points of flame. His face bore a composed mask, lips curling in detached amusement. "Master Windu," he said softly, "such drama in darkness. To what end does this midnight vigil serve?" Windu felt the Chancellor's calm extend like an open challenge, measured, inviting confrontation. "Your schemes end tonight. Surrender peacefully." With a subtle gesture, Palpatine lifted broken records, swirling them in tendrils of Force energy. They spun above the dais, glinting like shards of frozen fire. Tai raised a hand, and the fragments clattered to the floor, pages landing in silent ruin. Palpatine's lips twisted. He raised his hands, violet arcs of Force lightning cracking against the dais. Fisto ignited his green blade, forming a flickering barrier that redirected the surge into scorched fissures on the marble, filling the air with ozone and burnt silk. A distant alarm thundered through vents as wind rushed past open conduits. Windu ignited his purple blade in one smooth motion, the glow illuminating shattered tiles and glowing glyphs beneath. He advanced, stern resolve reflected in the edge of his saber. "This ends now." Palpatine drew a hidden saber, its blade a pale yellow hiss, standing poised on fractured floor. Their lightsabers met in silent clash, sparks drifting like embers in the still air. Each parry and riposte echoed through the chamber, painting the scene in stark contrast. Light and shadow, restraint and fury. Yet Windu sought containment, channeling deep currents of the Force to bind rather than harm. They clashed in a duel of wills. Power flared as Jedi calm met Sith intensity, every pulse rippling through the chamber's ancient glyphs. Windu pressed forward, severing data conduits with a precise strike that silenced the holo-panels' glow, sending sparks cascading onto shredded records. Shark T circled, eyes steady, blade ready. Yet she did not intervene. Palpatine's strikes were sharp, practiced, driven by more than desperation. There was calculation behind every arc, every backward step. He had prepared for this confrontation. But Windu had prepared for longer. With a feint and a forceful twist of his blade, Windu disarmed him. The Sith Lord's weapon clattered to the floor. A second later, Windu's outstretched palm held Palpatine locked mid-air, caught in the invisible grip of the Force. Palpatine's posture slumped. He dropped his saber, raising pale hands in reluctant submission. Dark humor flickered in his eyes. "It seems the Knight has other plans," he murmured. T and Fisto moved swiftly, affixing energy binds around his wrists that glowed with azure light. The hum of the Force softened to a taut whisper as the Chancellor yielded. Yet the silence held unease, a coiled breath not yet exhaled. Windu deactivated his blade, surveying the ruined office. Fractured marble, smoking conduits, scattered hollow records, echoes of a fallen tyranny. He turned to his allies. "Prepare extraction. We'll take the service shaft to the underlevels. The Council requires his testimony at dawn." They guided the captive through a hidden maintenance tunnel, the walls slick with condensation. Emergency lights flickered above, bathing the group in brief flashes of violet and gold. Their footsteps echoed faintly as filtered lights traced the path to a waiting launch vessel. Windu felt the Force pulse with cautious hope as they moved. Yet it also trembled, uncertain, bracing for unseen shifts to come. As they slipped outside the holodoor, the cracked floor sighed beneath measured footsteps. Beyond, Coruscant stirred toward daybreak, unaware that its fate had shifted beneath Jedi vigilance. In the east, the first threads of sunlight unraveled the stars. Somewhere below, the city slept. But above, a reckoning had begun. Under Coruscant's pre-dawn sky, slender shafts of light pierced the shattered windows of the Senate chamber. Once a symbol of unity, the vast hall now lay scarred by sudden violence. Pillars fractured, marble tiles splintered, records strewn like fallen petals. Wisps of dust floated like mist through the broken arches, catching the morning rays like ghost light. On the elevated dais, cracks spidering through its surface, Mace Windu materialized, lightsaber unlit at his side, eyes fixed on a figure shackled before him. His breath was even, but beneath that composure stirred a quiet storm. Chancellor Palpatine knelt, wrists bound by glowing energy cuffs. His dark robes seemed to ripple with contained power, and every whispered breath hinted at ulterior force. The chamber's expanse echoed with the hum of dormant sabers and the distant murmur of summoned guards. Yet here, in this sacred stillness between final blows, only Windu's calm presence held sway. A hush settled, broken by the Chancellor's voice, a silken drawl that slithered through the ruin. "Master Windu, this stage seems small for our contest. Are you prepared to cast down a deity?" He lifted his chin, red-rimmed eyes gleaming with something between mockery and menace. Windu's reply was measured, each word tempered like steel. "No deity hides behind tyranny. Your reign ends here." Without warning, Palpatine thrust his wrists forward. Tendrils of white lightning arced from his fingertips, smashing into the dais with a thunderous crack. Purple knife-like streaks flared as Windu activated his lightsaber. The blade hissed to life, a crescent of violet light that met the crackling lightning in a shower of sparks. Marble beneath them heaved. Splinters of stone burst outward as the two forces collided, purple and white each carving arcs in the air. Windu pressed forward, parrying lightning with his blade's edge, retreating over fractured tiles. Each clash sang a silent note of tension, saber against storm, calm against fury. Palpatine advanced, serpentine grace guiding his strikes. He unleashed another bolt, fracturing the dais further, sending jets of dust into the air. Windu deflected and countered, driving the Chancellor back toward a broken column. Light spilled across shattered records, pages tumbling like ashen leaves through fractured sunbeams. They danced across the cracked platform, sabers weaving with lightning forks. Windu beckoned the Force, channeling its deeper currents to bolster his defenses. White arcs recoiled as if repelled by an unseen shield. He lunged, severing a conduit that powered the chamber's hollow stage, sending sparks fluttering like fireflies across the floor. In that instant, Palpatine's mask of calm cracked. He roared, summoning a torrent of lightning that flattened Windu, hurling him against the dais's ruin. Dust spiraled. Windu's purple blade dimmed, skidding from his grasp. The Force rippled with warning, a storm circling its eye. But Windu rose, his movements slow, deliberate, his eyes shining with steely purpose, as if lit from within. His hand found his saber, reigniting its glow with the sound of quiet defiance. He surged forward, stepping through the Emperor's next strike and driving his blade into a fractured pillar, splitting stone with a resonant crack. The chamber tremored, columns toppled, dust-laden beams collapsed around them. Yet amid chaos, Windu found clarity. He wove the Force into precise motions, cutting through Palpatine's defenses, binding his arms in crackling white restraints born of Jedi will, pure, unbending. The Emperor sagged, his lightning extinguished. He dropped to one knee on the broken dais, head bowed. Purple light bathed his silhouette against the dawn-brightened sky visible through shattered arches. Windu deactivated his blade, its hum fading into silence like the last breath of a storm. He extended a hand, steady as sunrise. "No more shadows! The Republic will rise anew!" Palpatine looked up, eyes dim with defeat. "You may conquer me, Master Windu, but darkness persists." Windu said nothing. There was no triumph in his stance, no glory in victory, only duty, solemn and immovable. The silence between them stretched like a chasm, full of things left unsaid. Down below, the chamber doors hissed open. Windu turned as guards flooded the floor, their armor catching pale morning light. They ascended the steps in disciplined formation, securing the broken dais with practiced ease. Each lifted Palpatine with reverent caution, as if handling a venomous relic. Light pooled across the shattered hall, gilding marbled ruin with hope. Outside, dawn had fully broken, igniting the towers of Coruscant in hues of rose and gold. A new day had begun, indifferent and unknowing. Amid the settling dust, Windu's senses reached outward, touching on every corner of the Republic as it stirred to life. He felt both relief and foreboding entwined like twin strands in the Force. The cost of victory weighed heavy as the promise of renewal glimmered at the horizon. They walked in silence through the cracked vestibule, every footstep a soft drumbeat of history changing course. As they departed, Windu paused on the crumbling steps. He turned, casting one final glance at the ruined chamber. Its columns broken, its shadows spent. The Force whispered of trials to come. But in that fractured hall, the duel of fates had been reforged, and a new chapter in the galaxy's destiny had begun. The corridor from the shattered dais felt colder than the depths of space. Guards flanked Chancellor Palpatine, his dark robes trailing like smoke across cracked marble. The hiss of the cuffs around his wrists pulsed like a quiet warning. Mace Windu followed with measured steps, purple blade sheathed, senses sharpened by the Force. Dawn's first light filtered through splintered windows, flickering across broken columns and dust-choked air. They moved through silence thick with memory. The party entered the council circle, its once pristine floor mosaic scarred by displaced tiles and fresh rubble. Overhead, domed glass, fractured by battle, filtered sunlight in broken rays. Circular murals of past Jedi glowed dimly beneath the debris, their starlit eyes watching silently from the edges of the chamber. Their presence lingered in the Force, solemn, still, bearing witness to the end of an era. The High Council watched from behind silent statues of ancient masters, their expressions carved in eternal vigilance. Palpatine stood at the center, wrists bound in humming energy cuffs. He straightened slowly, deliberately, red-rimmed eyes burning with a strange mix of defiance and exhaustion. The lines in his face seemed deeper now, the shadows darker. Windu stepped into the fractured mosaic and spoke with solemn authority. "Chancellor Palpatine, your crimes against the Republic are laid bare. You stand accused of treason, genocide, and the orchestration of a galaxy-wide conflict." The fallen ruler lifted his chin. His voice, though roughened, held the same serpentine cadence. "Treason. I delivered order amid chaos. Genocide. I eradicated those who threatened peace. War. I protected the innocent through decisive, ruthless action. Yoda's eyes opened as he tapped his gnarled staff once upon the floor. Order built on fear cracks like this fractured throne, he intoned, gesturing toward the splintered seat behind them. Obi-Wan Kenobi stepped forward, voice firm with conviction. You manipulated hope and twisted justice into a weapon. Now you must answer for it. His gaze did not waver, even as the silence thickened. Palpatine's gaze flicked among them, Windu's unwavering resolve, Yoda's ancient serenity, Obi-Wan's righteous fire. You cling to ceremony, he snarled. Remove me, and chaos will reign. Strength guides this galaxy, not sentiment. The words slithered like smoke, but Windu felt the Force tremble beneath them, a tempest of lingering doubts and echoed horrors. The truth in the Chancellor's voice held weight, yet it was poisoned, steeped in years of manipulation. He raised his blade, its violet glow cutting through dawn's early haze. No more words. This ends now. A hollow laugh escaped Palpatine's lips, reverberating off the ruined walls. Master Windu, he whispered, does justice demand death when darkness beckons? The echo of that dying laugh lingered like ash, caught in the cracks of the stone. Windu inhaled slowly, drawing the Force around him like a cloak. Calm washed over his features, but his heart bore the gravity of the moment. He stepped forward, eyes steady, guided not by vengeance, but duty. With a single, deliberate motion, his saber descended upon the broken throne's remains, its light slicing through corruption's last hold. Time slowed. Blade met flesh, and violet fire surged. It washed over the dark architect's form in a burst of energy that dulled the colors of dawn. Palpatine's final cry was silent beneath the hum of power. No scream, no curse, only the whisper of an ending. Then, silence. Only the faint drip of ozone from severed binds broke the hush. The shattered throne sat abandoned, its symbol of fear finally toppled. Smoke curled upward from scorched stone. A presence long anchored in the Force evaporated like breath on cold glass. Windu deactivated his saber and stood motionless, the Force humming with both relief and sorrow. He bore the weight of choice and consequence, ending an era of fear, yet forsaking mercy in the process. The chamber felt hollow, without the darkness it had held for so long. Yoda closed his eyes, head bowed as if in silent prayer. Balance has shifted. Trials await, he murmured, voice wind-worn and heavy with foresight. Obi-Wan knelt, gathering the fallen robes with reverent care. Rising, he said, let us carry his lesson forward and guard the Republic from what may rise in his shadow. Windu surveyed his fellow masters. In their silence, he saw not celebration, but understanding. There was no glory here, only the burden of survival. We rebuild. We heal, he said quietly, and remain the Republic's shield against returning shadows. For a long moment, no one moved. Beyond the chamber's broken arches, Coruscant's skyline blazed with the dawn's promise. Clouds blushed with golden fire. Starships moved like silent fish through painted sky. The war was over, but the future trembled in the cradle of aftermath. They turned from the ruined circle and stepped into the new day. The air tasted of ash and light. A new chapter unfurled, born from sacrifice, ever fragile, shaped by choices made in the crucible of the Force. And though the Dark Architect had fallen, the blueprint of fear he had etched into the galaxy's soul would take generations to erase. But the first stone had been lifted, and the Jedi, at last, had begun to build again. Moonlight filtered through the windows of the Jedi High Council chamber, illuminating towering statues of past masters, their stone gazes silent and unyielding. The vast circular room lay draped in quiet reverence, painted in a tapestry of silver and blue. Shadows moved softly across the floor, cast by pillars carved with ancient runes. As Mace Windu entered, the echo of his boots on stone rippled like distant thunder, drawing the attention of each guardian assembled. Around the central table, Yoda stood with arms folded, his stooped form framed by the mosaic floor beneath. Beside him, the faces of Ki-Adi-Mundi, Plo Koon, and Luminara Unduli reflected solemn concern as they sensed the weight of approaching resolution. Shakti lingered near the far alcove, her expression unreadable. Windu paused beneath a statue of Odan-Ur, its serene expression seemingly studying him in judgment. He laid his sheathed lightsaber on the table, centering his mind. He clasped his hands, drawing calm from the Force. The silence deepened, stretching like a still lake before the first drop disturbs its surface. "Masters," he began, voice steady. "Chancellor Palpatine is dead. The Sith Lord's reign has ended by my blade at dawn's first light." His eyes swept the council, noting each reaction: shock, relief, doubt. Even within victory, the Force was not silent. It whispered of reverberations still to come. A hush fell before Yoda spoke. Death by blade. Quick resolution, yes. But questioned it will be. Does justice require execution without trial? Obi-Wan leaned forward, fingertips resting on the table's glyphs. "We acted to protect the Republic. His crimes were irrefutable. Yet the Council's compact demands due process. Was this execution or necessary mercy?" Ki-Adi-Mundi rose, hands clasped behind his back. The risk of leaving him alive could have unleashed darker legacies. Mercy and justice diverge on a narrow path. The Force demands balance. Do we honor our principles or bend to expediency? His eyes lifted toward the chamber's heights, where statues of past masters seemed to lean forward, awaiting judgment. Plo Koon added in his filtered tone, "He deceived us for years, corrupted the Senate, and waged shadow war. Mercy was never part of his doctrine. Still, our actions must be clear in their motive: defense, not revenge." Luminara said softly, "His death may shield the innocent. Yet will it haunt our own resolve? What echoes will this moment send across generations of Jedi to come?" Yoda's ears twitched as the Force rippled faintly around him. Reactions of systems we have felt, celebration and unrest both bloom. How guide the Senate now, without Sith's shadow or without stain on our robes? Silence followed, thick with the weight of consequence. Obi-Wan's brows furrowed. We must craft a narrative, his execution framed as necessary for public safety. Yet we cannot conceal the facts. Transparency may heal divisions. Deception will only feed future mistrust. A murmur ran through the assembly. Some masters nodded. Others remained impassive as statues themselves. The chamber, for all its stillness, seemed to sway gently in the unseen currents of history. Windu's heart throbbed in unison with the Force's quiet stirrings. Then, Transparency, Windu said at last. Let the truth stand unvarnished. Let the people see that Jedi are not executioners, but guardians, driven to act only when all peace is exhausted. Yoda tapped his staff gently against the floor. Enact we will a review of our methods. A council resolution. Death in this case deemed unavoidable, but reserved for only the gravest threats. Learn from Shadow's fall, but guard against its return. He looked to each master in turn. Reflection, our shield must be. Humility, our strength. A chorus of muted assent followed, the council united but mindful of lingering dusk. Windu bowed deeply to the council. His chest rose and fell, reminders of burdens carried, of choices made under dawn's fragile light. Thank you, masters. May the Force guide us as we steer the Republic toward healing. As the chamber slowly emptied, the air remained thick with tension. Not hostility, but the tremble of change. Outside, the temple's lavender halls awaited, corridors of cautious hope. In hushed passages, Windu walked a path, guided by the Force's glow. Younglings peered from meditation rooms, unaware of the full storm that had passed just beyond their reach. Knights and Padawans paused in their training, sensing a shift they could not name. He passed beneath the gaze of Alderaan's guardian statue, its luminous eyes fixed on distant memories. The duel of fates had ended. The reckoning within hearts had only begun. And in the stillness of moonlight, the temple breathed. Quiet, watching, waiting. The future was not yet written, but the pen had returned to Jedi hands. A low thunder rolled across Coruscant as storm clouds gathered over the chasm of the city, darkening the horizon in turbulent hues of slate and silver. Above them, gargoyles perched on spires, their stone wings stretched as if bracing against the coming storm. On the Jedi Temple's western balcony, Anakin Skywalker stood motionless, his cloak billowing like a storm-tossed sail. Below, the city's endless spires vanished into rolling mist, their lights flickering beneath gathering rain. Footsteps echoed behind him. Mace Windu emerged from the temple's silent corridors, his purple lightsaber unlit at his side. He paused at the balcony's edge, offering a nod of greeting. Behind them, the council chamber doors stood closed, the echoes of debate still humming within its sacred walls. The two men, once allies in countless battles, now faced a different test. The fate of a republic, forever changed. Anakin turned. His dark eyes betrayed haunted conflict. Master Windu, he murmured, voice heavy as distant rumble. I have heard whispers that the Chancellor is dead, that you struck him down. Windu inclined his head. Yes, Palpatine is no more. His tyranny ended at dawn's first light when justice demanded its course. Anakin's jaw clenched. Storm clouds writhed, thunder echoing like the verdict of the Force itself. He recalled nights spent at the Chancellor's side, soft counsel offered in shadowed corridors. He was a friend, Anakin said, tone raw. He guided me through fear, protected me. I owe him my loyalty. Windu's gaze remained steady. He used that loyalty to bind you to his designs. His guidance was a guise woven to serve Sith ends. Anakin's grip tightened on the balcony rail, knuckles whitening. Lightning forked across the sky as rain began to spatter, droplets glinting like sorrowful pearls. I trusted him, Anakin whispered. I believed. He sought peace. Windu stepped closer, the force-coiled tension between them palpable. He sought dominion. Each decree concealed another scheme. You sensed deceit, that disturbance in the Force. Anakin exhaled, breath fogging in the cool air. I sensed turbulence, but I convinced myself it was duty. He closed his eyes, memories of hidden plots surfacing like ghosts. How do I atone for that blindness? Windu's expression softened, though resolve burned beneath his brows. The Force offers guidance to those who ask. You stand at a crossroads. Follow the broken path of betrayal, or step into the light you once vowed to uphold. Anakin's mind raced with memories of the Chancellor's soothing words when Padme's safety seemed at risk. He recalled visions of her pain, raw echoes in the Force that had driven him to desperate acts. Tendrils of fear coiled within his chest, whispering that the wrong choice could cost her life. These private truths, known only to himself, now clamored for reckoning. Always vigilant. Thunder rolled closer, rain thickening around them. Anakin opened his eyes, reflecting lightning and city glow. The weight of his choice pressed upon him like monsoon winds. He felt the Force pulse beneath turbulent skies, stirring determination within him. He felt the weight of his choices settle like rain-soaked stone. His gaze drifted to the city below, where distant sirens wailed like mournful hymns. A lone starfighter silhouette traced the skyline, reminding him that war's engines still sputtered. He realized how tenuous peace remained. I must face the Council, he said at last, voice steady. I will reveal all I know and accept whatever judgment comes. Windu inclined his head. May the Force be your advocate. A crack of thunder split the heavens as Anakin lifted his gaze to the tempest. And may it forgive my doubts. They turned together toward the temple's vaulted halls. Storm clouds parted briefly on the horizon, unveiling a pale promise of sunrise. Coruscant's dawn approached, fragile, unwritten, awaiting choices that would shape its destiny. Soon, Anakin would confront darker shadows of his own making. That trial belongs to another dawn. The hush of night embraced Mace Windu's private quarters as he entered. Fading portraits of T'Loth, Thome, and other long-past masters lined the walls, their features blurred by age and shadow. A single candle guttered on a lectern, its flame quivering like a fragile heartbeat. Windu closed the door behind him, footsteps soft on the woven mat, and let the Force guide his weary form. He approached the candle, its glow casting elongated silhouettes across canvases. Memories stirred. The steady voice of Master Thome, instructing the young acolyte to temper strength with compassion. The scent of Taralunan incense lingering in a mountaintop dojo. The echo of steel blades dancing in pre-dawn mist. Those lessons had shaped him into a guardian of peace, yet today they felt distant shadows. Windu sank onto a low cushion, eyes fixed on the wavering flame. His shoulders sagged under the weight of destiny, once a guiding star, now a burden heavy against his chest. He recalled the fractured dais where Palpatine had fallen, the echo of that final cry still resonating in the Force. His saber's violet arc had been swift, precise, inevitable. But perfection carried its own burden. A memory surfaced, his first sparring match under Thome's watchful gaze. Light clashed with light, intention and response intertwined, each strike guided by unseen currents. Thome had halted the encounter with a gentle admonition. Power without restraint is a void that consumes its wielder. His mind shifted to a darker lesson. During the nights of reaving, he had led a small contingent through Sith-wrought horrors. Under flickering lamps, he watched comrades fall and knew that mercy sometimes demanded sacrifice. Thome's words echoed, "A true master must sometimes become the instrument of fate's harsh melody." But no instruction had prepared him for the finality of death by his own hand, or the question that followed. Had he become that instrument, or merely a judge wielding unchecked power? The candle guttered, its flame bowing to a breath of unseen wind. Windu closed his eyes, recalling Thome's soft admonition. Let the Force temper your heart, not harden it. He drew a slow breath, seeking balance between duty and compassion, justice and mercy. The Force felt taut, humming with both solace and disquiet. His thoughts turned inward, where a maelstrom of doubt stirred. Had he upheld the light by ending Sidious, or bowed to the same darkness he had sworn to destroy? The line between guardian and executioner wavered beneath the candle's glow, each flicker emblematic of choices unsettled. A distant chime summoned him, first watch approaching. Windu rose, the candle's flame dancing against his stern profile. He moved to the portraits, studying each weathered face. Odan Ur's serene countenance imparted calm. Thisen's gaze offered resolve. Thome's image whispered unwavering duty. He placed a gloved hand upon Thome's portrait, imprinting the memory of guidance. "Master," he whispered, voice thick with reverence, "help me bear this burden." The chime sounded again, echoing through silent corridors like a calling drum. Windu extinguished the candle with a steady finger, leaving only the portrait's muted presence. He exhaled, feeling the Force's undercurrent shift toward purpose. Stepping into the hall, he left behind the sanctum where doubt had flourished. Beyond the carved doors, the temple stirred. Younglings asleep in dormitories, sentries pacing beneath lantern glow, the soft resonance of holopads in distant alcoves. The galaxy's health would soon be measured by deeds born of this moment's reflection. He walked steadily toward the council chamber, each step reaffirming the vow he had reforged, to guide the Republic with measured strength and tempered mercy. The echoes of Thome's teachings anchored his resolve as he prepared to stand once more before the council and face questions that rose like shadows from his own heart. As dawn approached the temple's highest spire, Windu carried his burden into the light, forging hope upon the anvil of his doubts. News of Chancellor Palpatine's downfall spread across the galaxy like shockwaves in a still pond. Hollow transmissions flickered through crowded plazas in Coruscant's lower levels, then cascaded through battered terminals in the outer rim. Images of celebrating crowds, fists raised in triumph, cut abruptly to scenes of simmering riots. Banners set aflame as old resentments ignited anew. On Ryloth, freed Twi'leks danced in moonlit courtyards, voices raised in song as starships glided overhead, emblems of hope trailing skyward. Children painted their leku with symbols of liberation, while elders spoke in hushed tones about long-forgotten days of resistance. Rebel cells seized the moment, uniting fractured groups to secure armories abandoned by retreating separatists. Supplies once hoarded behind locked vaults now fed the hungry and armed those who dared stand for freedom. On the ice world of Maigito, pockets of former CIS operatives resisted, their spire cities echoing with blaster fire. Hollow declarations of the Sith's demise were met with gunfire and jeers. Security droids, confused by conflicting codes, hesitated as rioters looted supply depots, their cries a testament to chaos unleashed by power vacuums. CIS loyalists in hidden enclaves quietly plotted their return, transmitting coded messages through dormant relay satellites. On Christophsis, opportunistic warlords claimed deserted strongholds, extorting merchants while broadcasting propaganda that blamed all suffering on Jedi overreach. Vox speakers blared calls for vengeance, urging citizens to rise against any who wore the robes of peace. Statues of fallen generals were torn down or rededicated, depending on which faction controlled the streets that day. Meanwhile, the moon world of Endor remained hushed, its forest glades echoing only the rustle of returning wildlife. Small Ewok tribes, barely aware of the galaxy's turmoil, lit fires under the stars and watched them in silence, sensing change in the wind. Industrial hubs like Corellia saw both celebrations and work stoppages. Shipyards fell silent as technicians joined spontaneous parades. Factories shuttered under threats from clandestine agitators demanding reform. Corporate enclaves, once aloof behind reinforced domes, projected solemn statements of solidarity while privately bolstering their own militias. Behind closed doors, executives plotted survival strategies, fearing what power vacuum might rush in to fill the void. From orphaned hangars on Ord Mantell to refugee camps on Salukami, hollow messages of the Jedi's role in ending tyranny inspired new recruits. Young fighters strapped spare blasters to their belts, pledging loyalty to ideals glimpsed only in history hollow archives. Each spark of courage added a note to the galaxy's swelling chorus for justice. Yet the Force trembled beneath it all. Jedi dispatched to witness these ripples sensed a delicate balance. Hope, tempered by fear of resurgence. Windu's decision, echoed in every system, became a fulcrum upon which stability pivoted. Masters on the High Council monitored reports from distant sectors, their faces lit by data slate glow. Conversations turned from tactics to philosophy. How should the Jedi now lead without ruling, guide without grasping? Financial districts in Coruscant's Spire Correctional Corridor blinked with suspended trades. Credit lines froze as institutions awaited clarity on the Senate's next moves. Meanwhile, shady exchanges in abandoned hollow vaults negotiated black market deals, trading secrets for credits under the watchful eyes of rising crime syndicates. Smugglers reactivated old hyperspace routes, and syndicate leaders sent envoys to re-establish forgotten dominions. From the chasms of Mandalore's war-scarred plains to the Tusken camps of Tatooine, reluctant alliances formed in whispers. Old enemies reached across battle lines, forging temporary truces in the hope that Sidious's fall would birth a new dawn. Each alliance, fragile as desert glass, glinted under twin suns. But trust, once broken, proved difficult to mend. The scars of war lingered like the scent of ozone after lightning. Across star lanes, transport freighters bore refugees toward Chandrila's grassy fields, where newcomers sought asylum beneath ancient Senate statutes. Local governors surveyed the influx, torn between generosity and fear of resource strains. Aid workers distributed ration packs under open skies, while makeshift shelters sprang up along valley ridges. Yet in many hearts, the promise of a restored republic outweighed practical concerns. Back on Coruscant, holoprojectors in the Senate's outer ring displayed rolling footage of galaxies in turmoil. Ambassadors debated with fervor. Opportunists slipped between chambers to sway votes. Senators, old and new, argued over emergency powers, reparations, and whether the Jedi should take seats within the legislative sphere. Ripples from Windu's decisive strike continued to travel, reshaping destinies in every star cluster. Thus, as celebration and conflict intertwined, the galaxy braced for the next act. The Jedi, having toppled their greatest foe, now faced the aftermath, guiding a multitude of voices toward harmony, or risk watching the fragile peace splinter once more. And in the space between stars, where silence reigned, the Force waited, listening, watching, always. Dawn's first light crept into the circular council chamber, bathing its curved walls in pale gold. Towering columns arched overhead, and the murmurs of new voices wove through the air like a tentative breeze. Mace Windu stood at the center of the great table, his presence a steady anchor amid the stirrings of renewal. Around him, senators and Jedi masters gathered to shape the Republic's rebirth. Only days had passed since Sidious's fall, yet the power vacuum widened into echoing corridors beyond the chamber's oaken doors. The Senate, once a bulwark of unity, had fractured under clandestine divisions. Now they returned, stepping into the chamber draped in Dawn's promise, each face reflecting hope tempered with wariness. Windu's keen gaze surveyed the assembly. He raised a slender hand, and the room hushed. "Esteemed colleagues," he began, voice low but resonant, "we stand at the threshold of a new age. Our task: rebuild the institutions that uphold peace and justice. The Senate and the Jedi Council must evolve, reflecting the ideals we have fought to protect." He motioned to the Council's holoprojector, which illuminated two lists: names of nominees for Senate seats and fresh voices for the High Council. On Coruscant, we must recruit senators from underserved systems, worlds forgotten by bureaucracy, ravaged by war. Their perspectives will ground our debates in the reality of suffering and resilience. Senator Mon Mothma rose, her gaze steady. "I nominate Senator Garm Bel Iblis to represent Vyun and the Outer Rim systems. His leadership in the insurrection demonstrates his dedication." Murmurs of approval rippled outward. Windu nodded, agreed. And from Ryloth, Senator Cham Syndulla, whose courage in defending his home remains a beacon of communal strength. He added, "His resilience, born of hardship, will remind us of the Republic's duty to its people." Cham inclined his head, solemn and proud. On the holopad's second column, Windu highlighted prospective Jedi voices. Master Aayla Secura, whose diplomatic acumen on Naboo proved invaluable. Master Kit Fisto, whose courage in the face of betrayal inspires confidence. And Master Shakti, whose calm tenacity guided covert operations. He observed, "Each of these masters exemplifies the harmony of mind and heart we must cultivate. These masters embody the balance we seek, compassion interwoven with conviction." Master Yoda's gentle voice rose. "Balance achieved when many voices heard." He tapped the table with his staff, echoing wisdom through polished stone. His old eyes glimmered with timeless insight, reminding all that unity springs from diversity. Quiet deliberations followed, punctuated by nods, hesitant smiles, and the hum of datapads, as each member weighed the gravity of their charge and recognized the solemn duty before them. Obi-Wan Kenobi spoke next, fingers tracing ancient glyphs. "We must also include non-combatant masters, scholars and historians whose insights into the Force and galactic lore will temper our strategies." Master Eathcoth and Master Even Piel were added, their names flickering into view. As discussion unfolded, Windu reflected on the Senate's scars. He recalled masked covertness in marbled corridors, clandestine votes cast in shadowed rooms. Now, sunlight streamed across the chamber's mosaic floor, revealing patterns of unity underfoot. Each tile, once dulled by time, shone with renewed clarity. Senator Leia Organa stood and addressed the body. "We must reform the Senate's procedures, limit special interests, codify transparency, and establish aid protocols for war-torn systems. I propose a standing committee on reconstruction and reconciliation." Her voice carried the firm resolve of a lifelong advocate. Heads nodded in assent, the chamber's tension easing at her conviction. Senator Bail Organa added softly, "We should integrate Senate liaisons with Jedi envoys, ensuring cooperative oversight on crisis worlds." The idea gained traction as masters and senators exchanged thoughtful glances, envisioning a network of shared vigilance. By midday, votes were cast via encrypted holosignatures. The chamber's atmosphere shifted, renewed purpose crackling like hidden sparks, awakened by fresh wind. Windu watched as names solidified on the holomap, a constellation of reformers and guardians aligned to steer the Republic forward. As each spinner of power settled into place, the Force rippled with echoes of unity, stirring hope in every corner of the chamber. He felt the weight of centuries carried forward by voices united in purpose. As session adjourned, delegates filed out beneath columns carved with scenes of ancient peace treaties. Windu remained, gazing upward at the chamber's domed ceiling. A single beam of sunlight pierced through a vault, illuminating his face with radiant clarity. He inhaled deeply, feeling the Force hum with potential. Outside, Coruscant's dawn deepened, gilding spires with hope. Traders opened shuttered stalls, citizens emerged into quiet streets, and distant chimes marked the hour. The Republic stirred fully awake, carried on the wings of unity, and guided by the hands of those committed to justice. At the chamber's towering doors, Windu paused once more to cherish the fragile promise he had helped forge. Late evening found Windu and Anakin on the temple's eastern balcony, the city's chasm yawning below them. Pale starlight glinted off glassy water in a reflecting pool, casting flickering patterns across the marble ledge. Storm clouds drifted beyond the horizon, hinting at further turmoil. Around them, carved gargoyles stood sentinel, their stone gazes unblinking. Anakin stood studying his reflection in the pool, where twin streaks of blade light shimmered in silver shadow. His face bore lines of tension and regret, the weight of recent confessions etched into his brow. Windu approached silently, sensing the turmoil radiating from his former apprentice. "You sought clarity," Windu began, voice low as the night breeze. "Have you found it?" Anakin ignited his pale blue saber in a smooth motion, the blade's hum resonating softly. Windu responded by drawing his violet lightsaber, its vibrant glow illuminating the still air. They stood opposite each other, blades reflected in the shimmering water. With a swift nod, Windu advanced, testing Anakin's guard with a light thrust. Parry met strike in a precise rhythm, each movement of their sabers tracing arcs of light. Windu's discipline guided the pace, reminding Anakin of the fundamentals he had once mastered, grounding his heart in discipline. Anakin's guard dropped, his blade flicking off and resting at his side. "I understand," he whispered. "You have served justice tonight," Windu said, voice steady as his blade now at rest. "But your spirit still trembles with doubt." Anakin's gaze dropped to the pool's surface. "I have seen the cost of truth, Master. In revealing my doubts, I have opened old wounds, my loyalty to the Jedi and to Senator Amidala's memory." He traced a finger through the water, rippling his reflection. "I fear that my actions, my confessions, may fracture more than they heal. Windu nodded, kneeling beside the pool. A single candle flickered in a nearby lantern, its guttering flame reflected in water and stone. Regret is the echo of conscience, and fear the shadow of promise. Yet both can guide you toward balance, if you face them with honesty. Anakin inhaled, recalling the Chancellor's final plea, and the moment he witnessed Palpatine's demise. When I joined you that night, I believed in justice, but I also carried secret burdens, visions of Padme's fate, flashes of terror I could not share. His voice cracked. My deceit almost cost the Republic its only hope. Windu extended a hand, the amber light of his deactivated saber casting soft shadows. Confession brought us here. The Council will weigh your honesty. They will judge your past. Action now defines your future. A memory surfaced for Windu, his training under Master Thome on remote Mondath. He recalled sparring beneath relentless winds, the older Jedi's instruction echoing, "The Force is not vengeance, but compassion made ready." The lesson illuminated his path now, anchoring his resolve. Anakin closed his eyes. Memories of Corsairs, clone troopers, and the Chancellor's whispered assurances surfacing like specters. He recalled moments on Coruscant, beneath different starlight, instances when his fear guided his blade instead of the Force. I will stand before them, Master, but I worry I may become the darkness I sought to destroy. Windu placed a guiding hand on Anakin's shoulder. Your path is not set by a single moment, but by every choice thereafter. Let the Force guide your steps, as it once guided you to heroism. The echo of their breath mingled with the distant toll of temple bells. Anakin looked up at the temple's spires, their silhouettes framing the starlit sky. May the Force grant me strength, he whispered. They rose together, sabers hanging at their sides, reflections dissolving in the pool's depths. Each bore his burden, one of past deeds, the other of future hope, and in that silence, the Force wove their intentions into a shared tapestry. Anakin reached out, touching the pool's edge and feeling the water's truth. Windu watched him with hope, believing that the bonds of the Jedi could heal the galaxy's scars. Their resolve shone like dawn. As they descended the marble steps into the temple's quiet halls, Windu sensed a shift in the Force, the echo of thousands of decisions reverberating across countless worlds. The Republic's fate hung between confession and conviction, and Anakin's choice would echo through the ages. Soon, both student and master would step into the council chamber once more, bound by shared purpose and divergent fears. Their blades would rest in shadows behind their voices as words of repentance and resolve shaped the dawn of a new era. Under pale starlight overhead, reflected blades in glassy water faded to black. But hope remained, a fragile spark in the galaxy's deep night. With Chancellor Palpatine removed and the Republic in flux, Mace Windu's victory set the stage for a galaxy struggling to redefine order. Yet, as new leaders emerged and old wounds festered, the Jedi must guide a fragile peace or risk plunging the stars back into chaos. With Chancellor Palpatine removed and the Republic in flux, Mace Windu turned his attention to the echoes of the Clone Wars. On the reclaimed shores of Kamino, where legions of clones stood idle beneath endless rain, the once celebrated soldiers, bred for battle, now found themselves adrift in purpose. Empty battlegrounds stretched before them, vast drilling platforms echoing with the drip of condensation, each drop a metronome marking a new uncertainty. Windu descended from his starfighter onto a slick landing platform, the hum of the vessel fading into the steady percussion of rain. Ahead lay the great barracks, silent corridors lined by closed doors, banners of the Republic's emblem dulled by salt and neglect. He paused beneath a towering tower, its peel of paint flaking like old promises, and inhaled the crisp, mist-laden air. "Stand down, stormtroopers," he announced, his voice carrying across the empty square. Rows of white-armored figures emerged, helmets under arms, visors reflecting the grey sky. Captain CT-5597, Echo, stepped forward, helmet raised to reveal a scarred face beneath. "Master Windu," Echo greeted, respectful yet tinged with confusion. "What is our mission now?" Windu regarded the assembled companies. "You are no longer soldiers of war, but citizens of peace. Each of you will choose a new path. Some will return to your birth worlds. Others will serve in the new Republic's expanding civil corps. But first, we must give you purpose beyond combat." Echo exchanged glances with nearby troopers, Fives, Jesse and McIntyre. Their helmets bound them to a history of conflict, but their eyes betrayed hope in Windu's words. "Sir, many of us have fought since Hatch," Fives said. "We know little else." Windu nodded. "Compassion does not require birthright or banking code. It is learned, practiced. The Senate has approved programs on Camino, educational initiatives, ecological restoration efforts, and community defense units to protect against piracy. You will train as engineers, medics, and peacekeepers." A ripple of uncertainty passed through the ranks. McIntyre's visor glistened with raindrops. "And what of those who cannot adapt?" he asked. "Each path is voluntary," Windu replied. "No clone will face judgment for remaining here until they find their calling. Some of you may wish to honor fallen comrades by maintaining memorial sites. Others may mentor the next generation of citizens." He swept his hand across the barrack wings. "This station will become a training center for civic duty, not war." Echo bowed. "Understood, Master Windu. We will serve." Windu led the captains into the barracks' central hall, where long benches sat beneath flickering hololamps. He activated a projection of new rosters, names beside proposed assignments, engineering teams for repair yards, medical units for orphan care, and liaison officers for planetary councils. Each clone studied the map in silence, the glow reflecting determination and fear. As Windu guided groups through the hall, a lone figure caught his attention. CT-21-0408. Tool, staring at his own name faintly marked under Civil Affairs. His gauntlet tapped a rhythm on the bench. Windu approached. "Tup," he said gently. "What troubles you?" Tup lowered his visor. "Sir, I've always understood orders, but now I'm to teach compassion. Will the Republic accept me as man, not tool?" Windu knelt before him, rain dripping from his cloak. "Acceptance begins within. Show them your humanity. Your service here will prove that we are more than our origins." Tup paused, then inclined his head. "Yes, Master Windu. I will do my duty." Outside, the rain intensified, turning puddles into shallow mirrors. Windu stepped into the storm and gazed at the compound. Silent drills, empty targeting ranges, the skeletal remains of war machines. he raised his voice. "All clans, assemble in the courtyard at dawn. We begin instruction on peacekeeping and reconstruction." That night, Windu meditated beneath a lantern's pale glow, listening to the rhythmic patter of rain on domed roofs. He saw visions of clone troopers planting seedlings where artillery once stood, children's laughter echoing in renovated halls, and councils convening beneath banners of restoration. Yet he also sensed pain. Clones who would struggle to let go of past loyalties, systems unprepared for this new chapter. At first light, the courtyard filled with ranks of clones, standing beneath vast banners depicting the Republic's phoenix rising. Windu addressed them again. "Today marks your rebirth as citizens, not soldiers. You carry the legacy of the Clone Wars in your scars and your hearts. Let that legacy guide you toward service that preserves life rather than ending it." A hush fell, broken by the distant call of Kaminoan seabirds. The clones raised their helmets in salute, rain glinting on steel. Windu watched, hope and solemnity entwined in his chest. The path of reintegration would be long and fraught with challenges. But on Kamino's rain-soaked shores, the first steps were taken. The ghosts of war gave way to the dawn of healing, and Mace Windu stood among the echoes, a guardian of peace in a world reborn. Beyond Kamino, winds of change swept across star systems, carrying promises of reconciliation and whispers of new conflicts to face. Beyond Kamino, winds of change swept across star systems, carrying promises of reconciliation and whispers of new conflicts to face. On Onderon, in the cratered fields beyond Iziz, a tent city rose beneath violet dusk. Canvas shelters clustered around a central dais, banners of liberated systems fluttering in a restless breeze. Fireflies danced like living embers, their glow flickering over weary faces as rebel leaders gathered to shape their new futures. Master Kit Fisto, Windu's appointed envoy, strode through rows of makeshift huts. His green skin gleamed under lantern light as he carried a datapad embossed with fresh treaties. Scouts of the Royalist Guards and representatives of the uprising's more radical cells stood in cautious alliance. Their patched cloaks and salvaged bandoliers spoke of war and weariness. Yet all bore the same wariness in their eyes, a fear that peace might slip through distrust's cracks. Fisto reached the central tent, where a long table of polished timber held holoprojectors humming soft blue light. Around it sat Prince Davard and representatives from the Quint Resistance, the Moon Fang Remnant, and neutral tribal councils. Each wore the scars of battle, torn sleeves, soot-smudged brows, and clenched jaws. The envoy inclined his head in respect. "Esteemed delegates," Fisto began, voice calm yet resonant amid the gathering. "The Republic stands ready to support your systems with food, medicine, and reconstruction teams. In return, we ask that Onderon forge a single governing council representing all liberated peoples." Murmurs rose. The Quint delegate, a tall figure garbed in dark robes, folded arms. "We will not serve under a crown that once stood with the Empire." His voice crackled like static over comms. Prince Davard, youthful but weathered by conflict, pressed his lips together. "My father's throne fell under Sidious's decree. I seek to rebuild, not to usurp. Let us replace tyranny with shared rule." A chorus of rebuttals swelled from tribal representatives demanding land rights, from urban fighters calling for provisional courts, and from ex-imperial administrators wary of losing influence. Fisto watched tensions spike like electrical currents in the tense, charged air. He raised his hand, palm open and steady. Debate brings clarity. Let us allocate seats by population and sacrifice. City delegates, mountain clans, resistance commanders. Each deserves voice and veto power over critical measures. He tapped the holoprojector, and names appeared in glowing text. City Council, Rural Assembly, Security Directorate. Through the tent flaps, wind gusted, carrying dust from distant battlefields. Scouts glanced at each other as Fisto spoke on. These accords need not mirror past mistakes. Let us build a council where no group rules unilaterally, where every ember of dissent kindles dialogue rather than discord. The radical Solera of the Moonfang tested a blade at her belt. Words are wind, she said. Our people saw neighbors die. We need guarantees, reparations, land returns, justice for war crimes. Fisto nodded. Agreed. We will fund truth commissions. Reparations will be distributed through an independent tribunal staffed by judges from neutral systems. Your testimonies will guide restitution. Silence settled as delegates exchanged glances. Outside, fireflies wove among strings of lanterns, and embers from a smoldering hearth glowed at his feet. Memories of battle remained in every scarred face, yet beneath the cooling sky, hope flickered anew. He addressed the council again. Permit me to transport the agreed terms to the Senate on Coruscant. The new Republic will formalize these measures and allocate aid forthwith. Prince Davard rose, extending a hand. May our accord bind us stronger than war once sundered us. Fisto clasped the prince's hand, feeling the strength of shared purpose. I will carry your voices to the stars. Engineers rolled in rations, field hospitals and building rigs. Children scavenged rubble for toys. Women planted seeds in revived soil. Soldiers traded blaster stocks for farming tools, a fragile tableau of rebirth under tented lamps. As Fisto prepared his return to Coruscant, he looked back at the tent city summit, a fragile alliance born of necessity, yet promising unity. The threads of this rebellion, woven by compromise and conviction, would shape the Republic's tapestry for generations to come. May this accord endure through time and trial. Beyond the new councils and peace accords, a darker convergence unfolded in the void of hyperspace. A secretive cabal of former Sith acolytes had gathered aboard a stealth cruiser, hidden within a star funnel. Their ambitions whispered in coded transmissions and threatening to unravel the fragile stability the Republic had won. Mace Windu received the brief in the High Council chamber, where Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi leaned over a holomap of hyperspace lanes. Windu's gaze hardened as he absorbed the dossier. Masked operatives slipping through corridors, Sith relics awakening malevolent wills, and an oath to resurrect dark doctrines. We cannot allow these acolytes to regroup, Windu declared. We must strike before their scheme coils around the galaxy's spine. He turned to Master Shaak Ti. Assemble the hunters. They will infiltrate that cruiser, locate the Cabal, and dismantle their ritual. Shaak Ti inclined her head, summoning 3 Jedi hunters renowned for stealth and precision. Quinlan Vos, versed in the art of disguise, Vulvif Mon, whose senses pierced the Force like a blade, and Nahdar Veb, the astute Weequay strategist. Each arrived in muted robes, faces shadowed by cowl and determination. Under Windu's guidance, they briefed in the Council's planning room. Holographic schematics of the stealth cruiser shimmered in mid-air, revealing curving hulls and hidden vent shafts. Star funnels cloak you from sensors, Windu explained. traverse the ventral passage, then use maintenance shafts to reach the command deck. Voss traced the route with a fingertip. We locate their nexus chamber, the heart of their rite, disrupt the focus crystals, and their ritual collapses. They would carry code cylinders to bypass Sith wards and sever communications. Night fell on Coruscant as the trio boarded a scout shuttle. Its engines whispered as it dropped out of hyperspace into the star funnel's swirling currents. Outside, streaks of light intersected in kaleidoscopic arcs, a shimmering highway through the dark. The hunters donned light-absorbent gear and extinguished external lights before disembarking into the cruiser's docking bay. Inside, corridors stretched in stark silence. The hum of life support the only constant. Voss signaled through silent comms, and they moved in unison. Voss slipping past armored sentries by melting into shadow. Mon sensing hidden patrols before turns. Veb disabling security locks with deft precision. Their path took them past masked operatives who eyed them with suspicion. But codes and subtle force persuasion opened barred doors. In the belly of the ship, they discovered crates of Sith holocrons and black crystals pulsating with latent energy. Each artifact found its way onto their data slates as evidence of the Cabal's ambitions. At last, they reached the command deck, where former acolytes convened around a glowing circle of red and black stones. Chanting filled the air, summoning dark currents. The hunters ignited their green and white blades, slicing through the incantation's echo. Mon snatched the focus crystals, crushing them beneath his foot. Voss severed power conduits, plunging the chamber into darkness. Shouts echoed as red-armored acolytes surged forward, but disciplined grace prevailed. Each saber stroke deflected storm shields. Each force push pinned foes against bulkheads. Within moments, resistance collapsed, and the surviving operatives surrendered, their crimson masks discarded like dying flames. Voss communicated victory to Windu, who responded with solemn relief. The hunters secured the captured acolytes and obliterated the dark artifacts. As they guided prisoners to the shuttle, the stealth cruiser powered down, its star funnel corridor collapsing behind them. Back at the temple, Windu debriefed the council. The Council of Shadows has been scattered, and their relics secured. Yet vigilance remains our watchword. Others may seek to reclaim darkness from these ruins. Hollow fires of dawn glowed on Coruscant's horizon. The Jedi had preserved light against encroaching shadow, but the galaxy's trials were from over. May vigilance guard the peace we forge. In the aftermath of conspiracies dismantled and treaties secured, the Republic confronted a new test. Mercy for captured enemies. On Corulag's glass docks, transparent platforms rose above stormy seas, slick with salt spray. Waves crashed against submerged pillars, sending cold mist into the plaza. Murmurs of outrage rippled through assembled citizens, demanding retribution for years of oppression. Mace Windu watched from his perch atop the central dais, flanked by Jedi observers and Republic magistrates. His robes fluttered in winds. Before him, rows of captured separatist generals and Imperial loyalists knelt on polished glass. Lanterns swayed on curved railings, illuminating faces both defiant and despairing. Senator Leia Organa stepped forward, her voice rising above the storm. Our republic was born on principles of compassion as well as justice, she declared. We must temper retribution with clemency. True healing begins when mercy is shown. She gestured to hollow archives of Corulag's history, economic ruin, shattered families, and nights under imperial rule. Our policies must restore dignity, not perpetuate vengeance. A chorus of boos swept the plaza. A scarred veteran bellowed, "They tortured innocents. Mercy rewards cruelty. His comrades shook makeshift weapons. Windu felt the Force respond like ripples on the sea. Master Shark T placed a calming hand on his arm. Balance, Master Windu. Justice must be firm, but mercy binds society's wounds. The tribunal's chief magistrate, robes bright against grey skies, raised a hand. Order will be maintained. Hearings will proceed in chambers at the dock's edge. Each accused will present testimony, and victims may speak before this bench. Windu descended the dais and moved among the accused. First came Admiral Tholnar, uniform torn and faded. "Admiral," Windu intoned, "you oversaw blockades that turned worlds barren. How do you plead?" "Guilty," Tholnar replied, head bowed. "I followed orders that saved my people." Next, Governor Cassian stood. "I enforced martial law. I plead guilty to duty, not cruelty," he said, eyes seeking reprieve in the grey horizon. Testimonies continued through midday. Families of victims spoke with trembling grief. Widows recounted lost children. Former slaves described forced labor. Each voice wove sorrow and the fragile hope for mercy. The crowd's reaction swelled beyond the plaza. Placards waved overhead, "Justice now," and "Minister Mercy." Street protests flared in adjacent lanes, and holobooths streamed the hearings live to every sector. Inside the glass-arched chambers, holo-lamps cast gentle light on benches where victims and defendants faced one another. A child orphaned by droideca fire confronted a grim senator, her small voice demanding answers. Adjacent cells held detainees with visible wounds tended by medics, proof that mercy and justice could coexist in healing. By nightfall, the magistrate announced reparations, economic aid for ravaged settlements, scholarships for orphans, and joint councils of former foes and survivors. Windu reflected on these measures, recalling the council's hard-won debates under vaulted ceilings. He felt the Force pulse with optimism. Mercy's price would unfold in the years ahead. As Corolag's seas raged, the Republic affirmed that justice tempered by compassion would chart its path forward. May mercy guide the Republic's hand and temper the weight of justice. In the wake of Corolag's trials, Mace Windu sought stillness beyond councils and tribunals. He walked the temple's dim corridors to a secluded meditation chamber, where sandstone pillars carved with ancient glyphs rose around a polished stone dais. The subtle glow of kyber crystal orbs cast shifting shadows, and incense smoke curled in silent spirals. Windu closed his eyes and inhaled deeply, drawing the currents of the Force through his senses. At first, only the soft hum of hololamps and distant echoes of the Senate's bustle reached him. Then, beneath the Force's gentle tapestry, he perceived a distant heartbeat, steady, faint, unlike any echo born of war. He wove his concentration around that pulse, and visions unfolded. Rolling foothills beneath violet skies, their rocky veins aglow with bioluminescent energy, faintly illuminating ridges in the dusk. Within that vision, a solitary child stood atop a glowing rise, arms lifted as if welcoming unseen winds. Light radiated around the figure, each breath sending ripples through the soil. The image vanished, leaving Windu's chest resonant with that distant call. He opened his eyes, lantern light dancing on his furrowed brow. Without hesitation, he donned his cloak and boarded a swift patrol shuttle bound for Lothal. During the hyperspace jump, he reviewed ancient journals that spoke of Force nexuses beneath the Ashla Wither Ridge, places where Jedi once wove protective wards. The shuttle broke out of hyperspace into Lothal's pale sunset. Windu stepped onto cracked terra firma, the ground trembling beneath his boots. Before him rose the foothills, their veins pulsing faintly like living circuits. A distant drum of thunder rumbled across scarlet plains. He met a local seer, a woman draped in vine-woven robes. Her eyes glimmered with unspoken knowledge. "The land remembers," she intoned. "Go to the moss-covered cavern where the moonlight never dies. There you will find the one who listens." Windu followed a narrow path between phosphorescent moss and jagged stones. With each step, the pulse beneath the soil grew clearer, like a call beckoning him deeper. He reached the cavern entrance, where moss glowed in soft turquoise and droplets dripped from stalactites. Inside, the air thrummed with latent power. Walls traced with faded glyphs glimmered under his torch, revealing ancient Jedi symbols half erased by time. At the chamber's heart knelt the child from his vision, a boy no older than 10, hair haloed in silver light. Around him, glyphs carved in crystalline rock pulsed in rhythm with an unseen drummer. Windu stepped forward. "Child of the Force," he intoned, voice steady. "Your presence has awakened this place. Tell me what you feel." The boy rose, eyes reflecting the glowing veins. "It sings of balance lost and found," he whispered. "The stone remembers the Jedi's promise, to protect life, not destroy it. I heard its song and came." Windu placed a hand on the crystalline wall. Energy rippled at his touch. "This nexus holds ancient strength," he murmured. "We must guard it with compassion and vigilance." Together they traced simple wards in ash along the chamber floor, each line a vow to keep the power from falling into darkness. The child guided Windu's hand, their combined focus weaving a protective lattice that glowed softly in the cavern gloom. When dawn's first light crept through the cave mouth, the boy's aura shone steady, proof that balance could be nurtured by even the youngest of hearts. Windu gently clasped the child's shoulder. "I will inform the Jedi Council. Guardians will be dispatched to watch over this sacred node." Outside, the foothills gleamed under twin suns now climbing the sky. Lothal's winds carried the Nexus's soft pulse, no longer distant, but woven into the planet's living song. With a final nod to the boy, Windu turned back toward the path leading to his shuttle, his heart lighter. Through vigilance and a child's quiet calling, the Force had revealed a new promise, one that would guide the galaxy toward balance in the age ahead. After safeguarding the Force Nexus on Lothal, Master Windu journeyed to Chandrila, where the New Republic's architects gathered beneath twin suns. Verdant fields rolled toward the horizon as flocks of starbirds traced graceful arcs against amber skies. Upon landing, Windu noted the sweet scent of hardy flowers carried on the breeze, a reminder that life endures beyond conflict. Twin suns, a large amber sphere and a smaller cerulean globe, cast dual halos upon the rolling meadows, symbolizing the Republic's dual commitments to justice and compassion. Beyond a grove of silver-leafed trees, a marble pavilion opened onto the fields. Within, Senator Mon Mothma welcomed Windu with a measured smile. Her pale hair caught the sunlight, and her lavender robes billowed with ceremonial grace. "Master Windu," she said, voice calm yet warm, "your insight has been invaluable. These pacts will shape our galaxy's next era." Mon Mothma added that Senate delegations would visit these liberated worlds, offering development grants and programs for cultural preservation. At her side stood Admiral Akbar, his Mon Calamari features stern and hopeful. He inclined his head in respectful greeting. "We face threats old and new," he intoned. "Unity in defense will deter aggression and protect fledgling systems." Admiral Akbar outlined plans for a naval reserve, melding Mon Calamari starfighters with Chandrilan corvettes under unified command protocols. The council table bore star charts and treaty scrolls. Windu traced sector boundaries, noting where former Imperial enclaves now flew New Republic banners. "We must integrate civilian militias with a professional fleet," he advised. "Standardize training, share intelligence, and respect local governance." Mon Mothma nodded. "The Treaty of Chandrila will formalize these arrangements. Each signatory commits to joint patrols, humanitarian aid corridors, and coordinated defense against piracy and rogue elements." Mon Mothma promised annual reviews of the Alliance's progress, to be held under Chandrila's twin sunsets, ensuring accountability and renewal. Akbar tapped a coral staff on the table. "Our fleets will deploy to critical hyperspace choke points. We will also station listening posts on remote worlds, under Jedi oversight, to monitor disturbances in the Force," Windu added. "And we must forge diplomatic ties alongside military pacts. Envoys will journey to former separatist and imperial worlds, offering technology transfers and cultural exchanges. Forgiveness must be grounded in mutual benefit." Windu ensured the compact referenced Lothal's hidden nexus, pledging Jedi guidance in safeguarding ancient Force sites and training local guardians. Outside, a warm breeze carried the distant murmur of windmills and the hum of traders returning from harvest fields. Starbirds alighted on hedgerows, their wings glinting like living embers. Their migration symbolized unity, systems moving together toward common purpose. Over the next hours, Windu, Mon Mothma, and Akbar signed the Compact of Unity. Feathered quills traced vibrant inks across treaty scrolls, sealing alliances among more than 70 systems. Lanterns suspended from pearwood beams illuminated the gathering as the twin suns dipped below the hills. As twilight deepened, Windu walked the pavilion's colonnade with Mon Mothma. "This alliance is forged in the fires of our trials," he said. "Yet from heat and hardship, steel emerges resilient." She regarded him thoughtfully. "Our task now is forging bonds as strong as any blade, tempered by justice and mercy." Flocks of starbirds took flight against the dusky sky, their silhouettes dancing above the fields. Windu watched until their forms dissolved into twilight. In their flight, he saw hope. That unity born of adversity could carry the Republic beyond the scars of war. When at last he returned to his quarters, Windu felt the Force settle like cooled embers. Alliances had been cemented in fire and hope. The New Republic stood ready to defend peace, its leaders bound by shared conviction. May this union endure across stars. May this alliance endure through trials and triumph beyond. Together, unwavering, forever bound. The Compact of Unity had barely cooled beneath Chandrila's twin sunsets when Master Windu received urgent reports from the Outer Rim. Fragile alliances were already strained on Tatooine, where lawlessness and scarcity stoked old rivalries. Tatooine's twin suns beat down mercilessly by day, and nightfall brought bitter cold across open sands. He boarded a swift skiff bound for Mos Espa, determined to stand with the Republic's new partners in the trials to come. Twilight painted the dunes in fiery hues as the skiff touched down near a caravan route, known for mule runner convoys. Scorching sands shimmered under Tatooine's twin suns, and a string of lanterns hung along the caravan's wagons, their golden glow flickering like beacons against encroaching night. He recalled tales of Jedi wanderers who once carried hope across these barren seas of sand. Windu strode forward, sable cloak trailing, and felt the Force pulse with unease. The caravan leader, Nata Kaliris, rushed forward, her desert robes dusted in ochre. Caravan hands whispered of distant kin finding refuge in far-flung Republic worlds. "Master Windu," she gasped, "we were set upon by Tusken bandits bent on plunder. They took our supplies and left the wounded behind." She gestured toward broken crates and empty water skins strewn across the sand. Windu nodded grimly. "Show me the wounded." They came into view, mule runners slumped beside dying embers beneath a wrecked wagon. Windu knelt beside a young handler, placing a hand over the injured man's heart. With careful use of the Force, he eased pain and staunched bleeding. The handler's breathing steadied. "I will help you recover what was lost," Windu promised, rising as wind swept sand across the lantern light. "Gather your best riders. We move at once." As night deepened, the caravan reassembled beneath a sky brushed with indigo. Windu led a small team of desert-trained recruits and 2 Jedi hunters, cloaks anchored against wind-blown grit. Lanterns swung from wagon bows, casting elongated shadows on rippling dunes. The bandit trail lay ahead, marked by hoofprints and broken speeder tracks. They followed the path across humped dunes, Windu guiding them by the Force's subtle currents. In cleft rock formations, Tusken raiders watched from sand-blasted vantage points. As the caravan entered a narrow pass, a cry rose from the lead wagon. "They're coming!" From both sides, bandits emerged, their gaffy sticks raised, faces hidden beneath bone masks. They charged in a frenzied clash, weapons gleaming in lantern glow. Windu ignited his purple blade, its light slicing through desert darkness. Jedi hunters flanked him, their green and white blades painting arcs of protection around the wounded. Blaster bolts crackled against wind-worn stone, scattering sand like fireworks. Windu summoned the Force, hurling attackers off balance with a focused push. He leapt onto a low outcrop, deflecting incoming fire and calling to nearby riders. Working in unison, the desert recruits drove off the bandits, their courageous stand inspired by the Jedi's presence. When the last raider broke into flight, Windu deactivated his saber. The desert fell silent, except for the wind's mournful song. He turned to Nata Kaliris. "The supplies are nearby, hidden in the eastern gully," he said. "We recover them at first light." True to his word, at dawn, the caravan found its crates buried beneath a rocky overhang, grain and water intact. As mule runners loaded provisions back onto wagons, Windu observed the desert sunrise, 2 blazing orbs rising above the dunes like twin witnesses to rebirth. Around the glowing lanterns, bonds were reforged. Nata clasped Windu's hand. "Your help saved lives, and our livelihoods. The Compact's promise holds true." Windu inclined his head. "Alliances are tested by fire and sand. Today, they stood firm." The caravan pressed on toward Mos Eisley, its strung lanterns swaying against the rising day. Beneath Tatooine's red suns, a fragile peace had been defended, and alliances forged anew in the crucible of the dunes.